Good evening. We're going to talk today about some tips to set successful goals, because we want to be successful when we're setting our goals because we want to achieve them. My name is Rhonda Favano. Thank you for joining me. I am going to start out with a few oils. So a couple of the choices that I love when I am goal setting are inspiration. I love motivation. Magnify your purpose. Amazing when we're goal setting. And highest potential. So I love all four of those. You may have others that you love. I would be interested to know what else you like to use. And then of course, I use valor, because we know that valor just helps us to step out of our comfort zone to, it's like a cloak of courage. It helps us to just be brave. And so as we set new goals, that can be scary sometimes. When we are setting goals, we want to start with really contemplating, what do we want to achieve? What does that look like for us? What do we want to achieve? And then be prepared to commit to that. So we're thinking about, what do we want to change in our life? What do we want things to look like? What do we want our future to look like? Because as we're planning right now and we're setting goals right now, we're really planning our future and putting our future into action, right? So we want to be smart. And some of you have heard that before when we're setting goals, that acronym. So we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, but our goals need to motivate us. We need to be excited about them. Therefore, we're using motivation, we're using inspiration, we're using things like that. We want them to excite us. And honestly, if we're doing it right, we want them to make us a little uncomfortable. I don't want to use the word scare, but make us, pull us out of our comfort zone, because we all know that nothing extraordinary happens within our comfort zone. So we're going to have to get out of the comfort zone for the extraordinary. So it's going to motivate us. It's going to inspire us. It's going to kind of have that, that excitement. It's almost like, you get on a roller coaster and you're excited. You're anticipating those fast turns and those quick dips, and that feeling of your stomach kind of coming up, and you're anticipating it. And there's a little bit of, oh, this is going to be exhilarating, but it's also going to be a little terrifying at the same time. That's the way your goals should feel. Then we want to write them down. You saw the statistics today for what happens when we write them down and when we're very specific. So the chance of us achieving them escalates huge when we write them down. That helps us to go back and look at them, and they feel more tangible when we write it down. Then we want to get an action plan to put them into place, because we can't just make a goal and sit back and twiddle our thumbs and expect that goal, we're going to achieve that goal, right? We have to put action to it. And I don't know about you guys, how many of you love to make a list and mark things off? This girl loves it. I feel so accomplished when I achieve a goal, and I can go to my journal and I can write the date down that I achieved it, and it just makes me feel happy. Maybe I'm weird, but it just makes me happy, because I really feel that accomplishment. So for us to set a goal, think of it this way. It's a very powerful process for thinking about our ideal future. What do we want our future to look like? And then motivating ourselves to turn that vision into fruition. That becomes our reality. Woo, I love, love, love that. So I'm in charge. I'm in control of me, you're in control of you, and that's very cool. So the processing of setting that goal helps us to choose where we want to go in life. So as we're writing it down, it really helps us to focus and say, is this what I really want? Is this what I want, in the next year, in the next 5 years, and in the next 10 years? Because we're going to break our goals down that way, right? We're going to kind of have a long-term, a 5 or 10 year plan of, what is my life going to look like? How's it going to be different than it is today in 5 years or in 10 years? And then we're going to look at how am I going to change my life in the next year, and go from there, because we're not going to do it all in one fell swoop. It just doesn't happen that way. So when we write it down, we can really focus and concentrate and be very specific on those things that are right, that we need to be doing right now. A good tool. So it will also help us to identify the distractions that we have when we've got things written down. So the distractions can very easily lead us astray. Who has time for that? We'll be able to identify them much more readily. So here's some areas that we should be focusing on. And you may focus on all of them. You may focus on 2 or 3 of them. That's totally up to you. But let's think about our business, our career. What does that look like? What level or what rank? Where do we see ourselves in our business or our career in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, in the next year? And how are we going to achieve that? So what are some action steps that we can take to make sure that those goals come to fruition? And then how about finances? Finances is usually a really big one for people. Most of us have financial goals. So how much do we want to earn? What is our plan to do that? To be able to be there, earning that, whatever that dollar amount is, and when? When is our plan? When do we plan to be at that point? So in other words, what at the end of 2018, what will my income look like? At the end of 2020, what will my income look like? Because it should continue to grow, right? What are our family goals? What type of goals do you have for your family? What does that look like? Maybe right now you're working so much you don't get to spend much time with your family. So maybe a goal is to spend X amount of time, and that could be every day, that could be once a week, that could be vacations, this could be whatever it means to you, but maybe you have specific goals related to your family. And how do they relate back? Those goals relate back to your business and your career and your financial goals, because that'll all tie together. Okay, guys, ready for this one? This is a big one. And usually we pretty much all have to get over this one and have to do some adjusting here. What about our beliefs? Is there any part of our mindset, our belief system, that's holding us back? So when I can look at my goals and I have them written down, how do I feel when I look at them? Do I believe that I can do that? Or do I start having that recording going, Rhonda, you can't do that. No, you're not the kind of person that happens to. No one in your family's ever achieved that before. What is going on in my head? What video or what replay is going over and over in my head? So if you've got stuff like that, and again, most of us do, things that make us uncomfortable and makes us start to feel yuck and doubt ourselves, then we need to identify what those behaviors are, or what those emotions are, what those feelings are, those thoughts, and work on those to move those out of the way, because next thing we know, we end up self-sabotaging and we don't get anywhere. We just stay where we are. So the beliefs, our belief system is huge in achieving our goals or not. Because if we can believe we can do it, we can do it. So if that means we get up every day and we give ourselves a pep talk as we put on our oils and we read through our goal list, then so be it. It's worth it. What about the physical aspect? Do you have athletic goals? Are there certain things physically that you would like to achieve? Maybe even looking into the future and planning to have a healthy body as you age in 10 years. What are you going to do today to ensure that 10 years from now your body is healthy, that you've taken care of yourself? What does that look like to you? What steps are you taking, and what things are you willing to do to make that happen? And what about pleasure? What about fun? Sometimes we get so focused on all this work and all this busy stuff, we forget to have fun, don't we? If you're not a blue, I'm not a blue. I wish I had more blue. I'm going to work on that this year. That's one of my goals, is to be more blue, be more spontaneous, and laugh more. What do we enjoy? What makes you happy? What makes you tick? What brings you excitement? What brings you joy? Those are some things that should be on your goal list, because if we're doing all this stuff and we're not enjoying our life, what's the use? What is it for? How about giving back or public service. Do you want to make the world a better place? I bet you do, or you wouldn't even be here. I know I do. I know there are so many things, and I have some really big ones on my list. You guys, one of these days I'll share those with you. What do you want to give back? How do you want to change things and make this world, make your town, make your family, make your circle of influence better? What do you want to do? And get specific about that. So now let's go back and talk about SMART again. SMART, S is for being specific or significant. So the more specific that we can get, the more likely we are again to reach that goal. So get very, very specific. You know, one of the examples that I like to use is if we wanted a bicycle or a new car, we wouldn't just say, well, I want a car or I want a bicycle. We would say, I want this make and model of car, and I want it to be this color, and there are these certain, you know, bells and whistles and features that I want it to have, and get very, very specific so that we can bring that into ourselves and so that we can see that. So the more specific that you get, the more real that goal becomes to you. And let's make it measurable, and it needs to be meaningful to us. So how do we measure that? Or how is that meaningful to us? And individually, that's going to vary. The next part of SMART is the A, and that is for attainable. How attainable do you feel like that is? How realistic is your goal? Now, I don't want you to get so realistic that it remains inside your comfort zone, okay? Because remember, nothing extraordinary happens in our comfort zone. And what are the actions that you're going to take to achieve that? So make sure that it's an action-oriented goal so that you can make it come to fruition. And then R is for relevant and rewarding. So how relevant is your goal to the long-term picture of your life, the life that you want? And how rewarding does that feel, achieving that goal? And then the last T is for time-bound or for trackable. So set a time on it. So I want that, you know, new car that's blue and, you know, has this and that and whatever. And I want that by May of 2018. So I put a timeline on that. That helps to keep me accountable to myself, and it helps to keep it more real. And it helps me to realize I really am going to have to take some action steps to get that new car by May of 2018. So that makes it trackable, right? We know where we're at with that at all times. If May of 2018 rolls around and I didn't get my car yet, am I going to throw up my hands and quit and cross that goal off? No, I'm going to set a new date and I'm going to continue, and maybe I need to change my action plan. So when we aren't making the progress that we want to make, we need to make a shift. So a lot of you have been asking me, I've got a lot of messages, a lot of private messages asking me, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do. So follow all the steps that I just said, and then a way that the whole idea to make it very easy is in the Conquering Toxic Emotions workbook, self-discovery journal, on page 125 is the goals that I choose to achieve page. So if you'll get over there, I would encourage you to get a scrap piece of paper and write down some, jot down some things until you get very specific about the goals you want. Then once they make it here, they're in writing and you're ready to move forward to achieve them. So once you've got them written here, you guys, and you may do one at a time, you may have 2 or 3, I don't know. It'll be different again for all of us. But once you write them down, every day come back and read those goals and make sure that you're taking the proper action steps to accomplish them. The other thing that's going to make this journey a lot easier and for you to stay accountable to yourself, because sometimes for some of us that's hard. Have you ever made a New Year's resolution that you're going to work out every day, and maybe you went out and bought a new treadmill and you used it for the first 3 or 4 weeks and then it just sat there and collected dust because you didn't hold yourself accountable and you didn't continue on with that goal? We're not going to let that happen this year. So we're going to get over here on page 60 and we're going to start writing in every day. Hopefully you've already got a couple of days in here, 3 days in here, I guess, of what you're doing every single day, what you're grateful for, what you're going to do today to make your day great, what your goal for today is, just today's goal, not the long term, and an action step, a positive action step, and then the highlight of your day. So that will help to keep you really focused and on track. And we're going to do that for the rest of this month. Easy peasy, you guys. Easy peasy. And then this group can help hold you accountable. If you need that, go in and post that. We'll help to hold you accountable. Someone posted in the Facebook group, how do I balance setting a realistic goal but yet push myself enough? Well, we talked about that, I think, already, but just to go back and make sure, we're going to set the goal, and once we've set that goal, we're going to develop an action plan. And we must remain focused on that action plan and hold ourselves accountable to follow through so that we achieve those goals. So again, writing it down makes a huge difference. Reading it every day makes a huge difference. And as we journal and as we use our essential oils, those are very powerful tools that we can use to help us to achieve those goals. Now think about this, you guys. If we have a job where we're employed somewhere, we have to go to that job. If we don't show up, or we only show up when we feel like it, which isn't maybe often, they're going to fire us. We're not going to have that job anymore. Or if we show up at our job, but we don't do any work and we don't accomplish the tasks that we were hired to accomplish, they're going to fire us. So you have to put action to it to achieve your goal. So just begin to think about that. Somebody else said that they don't even know where to begin. So hopefully you're listening to this and you do know where to begin now. Saying they have a lot of things swimming around in their head and they just don't know how to direct them. Well, start writing them down. Get a notebook and just start writing down those ideas until you can break those out into manageable, exciting, motivational goals for yourself. And then get them into your book. Now, I love this quote by Seth Godin, and I know a lot of you have read, he's got some wonderful books, and I know you guys have read a lot of them. But here's what he says. The thing about goals is that living without them is a lot more fun in the short run. It seems to me, though, that the people who get things done, who lead, who grow, and who make an impact, those people have goals. So there you have it. That pretty much sums it up. You can do this. I know you can. We're going to do it together. I've got some big goals myself, and I look forward to achieving them with you guys.